What's up, mi gente? I'm Juan Ayala from Latin Babbler Show, and you're listening to LatinArte, where we bring you exclusive interviews with rising Latin stars of the world. ¿Listos? Vamos! Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of LatinArte from the Latin Babbler Show, where we're celebrating Latin excellence. I am your host, Juan Ayala. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome to the YouTube channel. If you're tuning in, head over to our YouTube channel, check out all of our current content, new podcast videos, and all of our hilarious clips and reels from all of our wonderful content creators. So we've got another fantastic episode for you all today. Joining us is an actor who you've seen in television series, literally everything. He's had recurring roles on Snowfall, on FX, TNT series Animal Kingdom, USA's Queen of the South. He's guest starred in Dexter, Weeds, Dead to Me, Insecure, and his latest role is opposite Aubrey Plaza in the movie Emily the Criminal. It's Bernardo Badillo. Bernardo, welcome to LatinArte. Thanks for being here.
I know. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you and, talk about the Latino community at large, especially as an artist. So I'm
Awesome.
very, very excited.
Awesome. Let's dive in. So before we get into Emily the Criminal, let's jump back to the start of your career. So you were born and raised on the West Coast. And
Yes.
Were you exposed to the arts early, or was that something that came to you a little bit later in life?
No, I wasn't exposed to the arts at all, actually. I don't know. I grew up in a big family, but I was an only child. So when I was with a lot of family, I would watch, especially growing up Latino, I would watch telenovelas and, watch a lot of TV and then go home and be by myself where I was, with my mom and dad sometimes. And I would just watch a lot of TV shows on my own. As a little kid, I was watching like horror films at like 5, 6 years old. I was Freddy Krueger for Halloween at 7 years old. So I was watching adult things, but I was just always inspired by the imagination of it all and just creating my own scenarios in my head. And in my bathroom, I would just act out scenes from movies that didn't even exist or things that I just created or, so I just was always, I don't know, just using my own imagination to create worlds or be inspired by something that I watched and then be like, okay, if there was a sequel to it, which didn't exist, what would I be in it and how would I participate? So those were the things that I would do to sort of entertain myself because I had to entertain myself. And from then on, I just always knew that I wanted to be an actor. I didn't know what it was called per se, or that was a career that you could follow. I just knew that I wanted to be on television or I wanted to be in cinema. And I would go to the movies by myself at like 10 years old, 12 years old, 11 years old. I would go all the time to the movies and just imagine and dream. So that was really what I was exposed to in terms of the arts. But in terms of being taken to, plays or shows of any kind, that really didn't happen growing up because, well, for various reasons, but which I won't get into, but I didn't get to experience as much as some other people.
Yeah. Similarly, I mean, it sounds like we would have been best friends as kids because I had this crazy imagination. I loved Disney movies, especially. I loved the music and all of that. So that's eventually what led me to get involved in acting. I'm an actor as well, but also journalist. So I do a lot of, interviews and podcasts and stuff. But yeah, similarly, I wasn't exposed too much to the arts beyond music. If I was lucky, we'd have like a school field trip where we get to go see a play or something local or something. But other than that, I really didn't get to be exposed to much of the arts beyond like film and TV. So we pretty much were in the same boat.
Yeah, I hear you.
And growing up, was there any time that you remember like you finally felt represented or seen in a performance you saw? Like if it was a movie about a Latin family or a particular character?
I wouldn't say a particular character, but I grew up watching, yes, a lot of American films, but I also grew up watching, and granted, this is an American film, but American Me was something that I watched growing up. I also watched La Bamba, and it was the first time that I saw Latinos being represented, and American Me. No, I'm sorry, Blood In, Blood Out. I remember watching that. But in terms of films that I constantly watched, I didn't see that representation. And it never bothered me because I felt like even though I did see a couple Latino artists doing it, I just felt like it was never impossible for me to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like I never thought in my head, oh, because I'm not being represented or I'm not seeing that, I can't do it. I always thought I will do it. Somehow I always just believed that I could do it. But of course, like, you know, I knew who Edward James Olmos was, and Lou Diamond Phillips, who I think is also part Native American, and or Filipino as well, I think. And so those people I did know about, but I didn't really follow as many Latino actors or artists as, you know, you would maybe like a Bruce Willis at the time, or Arnold Schwarzenegger was in Terminator, you know. So but even that, like I said, I felt like I could do it. It never crossed my mind that because there wasn't as much representation that I wasn't able to, or that I couldn't do it.
Yeah, you know, it's a shame, you know, as a 90s kid, there just wasn't that much representation of us really anywhere. I feel like, you know, George Lopez Show was like the first Latin family sitcom that we got, and even then some of the cast members were not Hispanic or Latino, but you know, that's a if they redid it today, I know that they would have like a full, you know, Latin or Hispanic cast. But you know, that was just a thing of the times. A lot of times Hispanic characters would not be played by Hispanic actors. I mean, mind you, there are some iconic performances like in Scarface. You know, Al Pacino's not Hispanic, but still an iconic performance. But it just makes you think like, who missed out on a career making opportunity like that, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But it's not but as a child, you don't think those things because you don't really know or understand the scope. And as an adult, then you realize, oh, wait, just like you said, Scarface, there could have been somebody incredible playing that part. And granted, no shade to Al Pacino because he's amazing and he bowed down. But yes, I mean, even now there's people that play Latino roles still and don't get the same, you know, we don't get the same Latino representation. It's changing and it's getting better, but there's still some missed opportunities for sure.
Yeah. So with Emily the Criminal, which is your latest project or one of your latest projects, you guys just had the film at Sundance earlier this year, and you guys did it. You got the distribution pickup, so hopefully we get a theatrical release later in the year. But what was that experience like working on the movie? And what can you tell us about the movie and the characters, since there's not much out there yet?
So the movie is about a woman and played by Aubrey Plaza, who shout out to Aubrey, who gets involved with dummy shopping. And with dummy shopping is when you go get a fake ID, a fake credit card, you go do the shopping for someone, buy big merchandise, deliver it, and you get paid, you know, by the hour. And as the movie goes along, she gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and things just spiral out of control. And my character, I actually play a caterer. We're both caterers at this company, and she does me a favor. So I actually hook her up with the number of the person who is in charge of the dummy shopping. So she does me this favor, and I hook her up, and things, like I said, spiral out of control. But I, on the other hand, try to stay to the, you know, the straight path, try to stick to that and do my job. And I'm not happy by the fact that she's leaving our job and leaving me with everything to do, all the tasks at the job, so she can go and do these other jobs, which are not good for her, obviously. So yeah, it was great. It was great. We shot this past summer in LA, in and around LA. And we shot on location in different areas. We shot on Fig and 7th in downtown LA, like in the middle of rush hour at like 6 p.m., which was a crazy experience, but that was fun. And yeah, I mean, it was just a great learning experience for me too, because for the most part, I've done a lot of TV, but I haven't done a lot of film. And it moved very, very fast, very quickly. There was a lot of improvisation as well. We got to fill the scene. The director, that's what he wanted, because he also wrote the film. So he wasn't precious with his dialogue, which in TV is very different because they're very, very strict about how you say the line, what you say.
Yeah.
You know, there's someone making sure that your dialogue is correct. Whereas in this case, we were able to just, you know, add things and generate things and fill the scene with whatever we needed to do. So it was a really great experience, and just, you know, working with Aubrey was great. She made me feel welcome and comfortable, and yeah, all my scenes are with her. So, you know, and I think I shot one of the first days. So it was just great. It was an amazing experience for sure.
And with a lot of your past roles, you had, like we said, you've worked on Snowfall, Animal Kingdom, Queen of the South. You worked with some pretty awesome actors and some really awesome shows, especially shows like, Queen of the South, Animal Kingdom can be rather sort of action-packed, explosive, very dramatic. So what were those experiences like for you? And was there like anyone that in your early years on set maybe give you advice, or if there were any Latinos you worked with, did they give you any like wise words?
I mean, I would say that working on Queen of the South definitely was a breath of fresh air because it was the first time that I worked with so many Latinos,
Mm.
not only in front of the camera, but behind the camera as well. And I just felt like they welcomed me in a way that I hadn't felt welcome before, where everyone was really rooting for me to succeed, to be the best. I think Eduardo Sanchez, who directed Blair Witch, uh, he was the director for the first, I think, 2 episodes, and then Steven Acevedo directed the last episode that I was on. So they just wanted me to succeed. They helped me in any way that they could, and even the cast, they just made me feel like I was doing a good job, like I was important. So even though I was guesting, and they had been doing it for years, they made me feel like I was important to the story. They made me feel like I was important to their their interactions on screen, and I think it was the first time that I felt very important as an actor and necessary.
Mhm.
Not to say that any of the other roles that I played I wasn't necessary, but I felt like they went out of their way to make me feel like I was necessary, and I was able to rehearse while we had downtime. We would all sit around a table and just rehearse the scene and go over the lines, and and I felt included, because a lot of times when you show up on set, you don't really get to rehearse that much. You
Right.
do it once for camera, so the camera and the lights, they know where to place them and all that, and then you just go. There's
Right.
not a lot of rehearsal and downtime. So in Queen of the South, we would be in a room and we would rehearse and go over the lines and try different things and make the scene happen. And it was just an incredible experience. It was also, I think, the first season that Alicia Braga was an executive producer. And to see her really also take the reins and say, this isn't working for me, or I like this better, or can we shoot it this way, or can we speed up the scene in this way. I just it was such a new way of working, and for a strong Latina to be doing that was like mind blowing to me, because I had never seen that on that end. I had seen other white executive producer actors do that, but there was the first time that I saw a Latina do that, and I was like, that's what it's like. That's what I want to have, be able to have my input and be seen in that way. So yeah, I mean, I mean, I wouldn't say there was specific advice, but there was definitely just observing and watching and saying to myself, that's what I want to be. That's what I aspire to be and do.
Mm.
So,
And I mean, first, that's amazing to hear that she really had that, not just authority, but that everyone definitely respected her
mhm.
to accept that authority, because a lot of times the producer title doesn't always mean they get creative input, but with her being like, like the star of the show, and really getting to have that just that presence on a set and being able to tell people like, because it's one of those things that, like, whenever actors are invited to also write on the show, like it happened a lot on shows like The Office, it happens on shows now like Euphoria, where the actors get to co-write an episode, and it's like no one knows the characters better, especially after several years and seasons, than the actor.
Yeah,
They know
yeah,
like the inner workings, so a lot of times that they give that input, it's like, oh well, they wouldn't really do that, or they wouldn't do this, because it's like, well, they know, actors have this like
exactly.
backstory in their head that they don't really share with anyone. um so yeah, that's just awesome to hear that she had that respect from everyone um in
Yeah,
the set for that kind of thing.
yeah, and like I said, it was the first time that year, the fourth season, that she had that
Mhm.
title. So it was interesting to see that she was really in there trying to make the show better and not just a title. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So
And you've been in the business for a while, so is there any advice that you would give to a young actor any words of wisdom, whether it's about your own experience or just sort of like looking ahead?
Yeah, I would say two things. I would say don't give up because it's a long journey. Yes, for some people it happens overnight, and that's amazing and wonderful. But for a lot of us, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and commitment and hard work to make it, to keep working, to keep learning and keep learning. Keep learning new techniques, styles, genres as much as you can, because you just never know what you're going to be approached with and what you have to play. And then the other thing is something that I'm just slowly and learning more and more and more is try to bring yourself, because early on in my career I felt like I had to be a character with an accent or with a different way of talking and whatever, and slowly but surely I'm starting to embrace who I am, how I speak, how I talk. And I recently did a show called This Fool, coming up on Hulu. It'll premiere I think this summer, and the creator / star named Chris Estrada, who's a comedian, he called me and he said, I just want you to be you. I want you to have your accent, your own vocal tone. You don't have to put anything on it, just be you. And the more that I feel like I've been able to bring that to the table, especially even in the role that I did in Emily the Criminal, it's very much like me. I of course, within the given circumstances in the situation, but I didn't feel like I had to put on all these things to play that part. And it felt like it came from a much more authentic place. So what I would say is don't be afraid to bring yourself to the role, because you're special, you're unique, you're your own person. That is, even though you're getting the same script, you're going to bring something that's original because you're the only one that's like you. So do not be afraid to bring yourself to the character and not the other way around.
Yeah, I think that especially actors of color feel a little bit boxed in
Mm-hmm.
and forced to put on those different layers of accent, of physicality,
Yep.
and unfortunately it's because a lot of the auditions that at least that I get are for immigrant characters, are for
Mm-hmm.
criminal characters, or
Yep.
it's like there's more than just the immigrant story for
Yeah.
Hispanics and for Latin people in the US. It's like that's not all that we do. There's more to us than that. Like we're not a monolith, we're not just one type of person. So yeah, is there anything that you can share also like regarding things like typecasting or like that sort of sense of being boxed in from your
Yeah,
experience?
I feel like I definitely played into the typecasting, because when I started, like almost 18 years ago, there wasn't this breadth of roles that there are now, where you're getting to audition for astronauts and journalists and sheriffs and teachers. It was very limited, at least when I was coming up. So I know that I definitely played into the look and the type, and I boxed myself in, but that's because I wanted to work, and I don't regret doing that. But I also feel like it took me a long time to be able to get out of that. So in the process now, I do feel that's why I think I'm advocating more and more and more for authenticity and bringing yourself to the table, because there are better roles out there. There are characters that, yes, might be drug dealers, but they could speak like I speak. And even in Queen of the South, I generally spoke like myself. I didn't add this accent, except for when I was speaking Spanish, because my character is Cuban. So then I added the Cuban accent, right. But I just spoke like myself, and I didn't try to add a thuggish kind of feel or a thick, heavy something, accent to the character. And I was cast, and I was able to do it. So even though it was a narcotraficante, a drug dealer, I didn't have to put something on it that felt foreign, or that felt like just putting it on just to put it on, because then it becomes real to the audience, So so slowly I've been getting out of that, and I encourage people to start getting out of that. And which doesn't mean that if the role requires you to have an accent because it's a specific thing, that you can't do it or that you shouldn't do it. But I don't think that it's always necessary. I don't think that as a matter of fact, I have an audition now, and in my mind, it crossed my mind that should I have an accent? And I said, no, because this character, it doesn't need it. But I could do it with an accent, but I don't need it. So I'm not going to do it with an accent. I'm just going to do it like I speak. And it's for like an agent. An officer of the law, I should say. I'm like, I don't, it doesn't need to be, just because it's set in Texas does not mean that I need to have either a Texan accent or that I need to have a Mexican, Spanish, accent at all. Because this character could easily have born in the United States, not in Texas, speak perfect English, and, be just like I am. So, you just gotta fight the good fight and say, and know when it's necessary, know when it's not, and believe that it's enough. Believe that it's enough.
Yeah, absolutely agree, man. Bernardo, thank you so much for being with us on the show today. I really look forward to seeing Emily the Criminal. Hopefully it gets a theatrical release very soon, so we can all see it, or at least on streaming or wherever it is that they decide to put it. But yeah, so where can folks find you on social media, Instagram, Twitter, if they want to give you a follow?
Yeah, I'm at actor Bernardo Badillo on Instagram and Birris524 on Twitter. Although I don't tweet as much, but I'll be on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. So.
Awesome. And you can all follow the show at Latin Babbler Show on Instagram. Head to LatinBabbler.com to check out all of our other content. And you can give me a follow at Juaniel Official as well. Thanks for listening, everyone. We are out.
Desde Nicaragua hasta Costa Rica, con esta canción todo mundo se identifica. Llamen a los chilenos y a los cubanos, llamen a Puerto Rico y a los mexicanos, que ya se armó la rumba. Desde Panamá hasta Ecuador, vámonos a Perú y luego hasta Salvador. Que se escuche en Brasil y Argentina. Yo quiero un grito de mi gente latina y levantaré mi bandera, estando en mi país o estando allá afuera, porque para mí, mira, no existen fronteras.